Hi everyone, welcome back to Desert Girl Coastal Life, and today we are going to start off by first receiving a very large shipment of sand. I purchased washed sand from a local company here in Vancouver, where with all the trees and all the plants that I either put into pots or in the ground, I utilize a lot of sand in my mixes, and this was the most cost-effective way to purchase sand. So what you're looking at here is a 1 cubic yard bag of sand, which they are now trying to gently bring into our garage. And this guy did a great job of getting this bag into a very tight space. So with this bag of sand, it is extremely heavy, so I cannot move it. I think it's about 1,100 pounds. And this may seem like too much sand, but I've already utilized, a fair bit of it. After we got the bag into the garage, I put it into a lot of pots. But here you can see a closer look at the type of sand that was purchased. It's like a beach sand. It's very fine, very soft to the touch. It's a sand that you would love to lay on if this was at a beach. So this sand here, I mix with perlite and peat moss. Sometimes I use the sand just with perlite, as I'm going to show you today. And this year, again, I'll be using over the course of a couple years. So let's hop into our first project today, and only big project, which is planting up our avocado. So here is a look if you've been following our avocado series. This avocado is, I believe, 19 months, and it was grown from a pit, and it is it was well over 8 feet when I pruned it down. So you can see, and it's hard to kind of get a gauge of the thickness of the trunk, but it's quite thick, and it has a multitude of branching. You can even see I pruned the tips of the branches, and it produced some offshoot branching. You'll kind of get a closer look here. You can just see the tip that was pruned off. And I tip pruned all the branches, plus I topped off a further foot and a half off the top of the tree. But so far the tree is looking really good. I am growing this in Vancouver, BC, Canada, where we do not have the appropriate weather for year-round growing of avocados. But I'm going to try something new. I was kind of given some inspiration by a follower that said avocados have been successfully grown in London outside, so I thought I'd give it a go. And the worst that can happen is the tree will unfortunately die, but I do have some ideas for frost protection using bamboo poles. So once our weather starts to dip, then I will try to house it in some frost protection material so that it can get through the worst of our winters. But I just wanted to give you a close-up image of what our tree looks like. It does have some leaves that have had better days, but you can see the height. It's still a very large tree, and come next year, I will most likely have to prune it once again. So in this area, I have cabbage, and I've got some leeks that are going to be coming out shortly, and some Swiss chard, but I have a fairly large area in the center where I'm going to place the tree. So you can just kind of barely see it here in the center of the frame. We're going to dig a rather large hole that will be quite a bit larger than the size of the pot, and we're going to actually fill it with sand mixed with perlite. This is going to aid in really good drainage of the avocado, which is what I need, but it'll also give it good stability with the sand. So I'm just going to go ahead and start digging my hole for this tree. Now, normally you would purchase avocado trees that are grafted varieties because then you can choose exactly what you need for the zone. Here I'm just showing you what our mix looks like, which is just purely sand and perlite. And this is what I will be using inside the hole, and then I will be filling all around the root ball once I get the avocado planted inside. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. So here I'm just placing in the sand and perlite mix and evening out the bottom. And then we're going to go ahead and get this tree moved over, and we'll try to get it out of the pot. Now, the biggest test I had with planting this avocado is the actual weight of the tree. I was surprised at how heavy this tree was. I'm used to planting other, trees around the yard, but this one I actually found difficult to lift and maneuver. So now I'm just determining, how I'm going to get it out of the pot. I do have a couple sticks inside, and they have been helping just form the structure of the tree, and if big winds come, they have been preventing it from toppling over. So we're just going to remove the 2 poles that I have inside, and then we'll have the opportunity to put the tree on its side and try to get it out of the pot. Now, it has been growing in pots since the day I planted the seed. And so we'll have a really good look at what the root ball looks like after 19 months of growing in pots. So here the biggest test was actually having to loosen up the root ball so that it could easily come out of the pot. I always find the best way to do this is to really put my body weight into it and to really press firmly. And because I'm using inorganic matter to grow my plants in, it actually does come out relatively quickly. But here, the only part that was difficult for me was having to actually lift this very heavy tree with one arm and try to pull it out with the other. Normally, like I say, it's not a big issue because the trees are usually fairly light. But this one, like I mentioned, was very heavy, so I had to work really carefully and really hard to get this tree out. I did find, though, once I put my finger at the base, there is one hole in the center of this pot that I was able to sneak my finger into, and that made it a lot easier for me to eventually pull the tree out. There you go, you can see I got my finger in the hole at the bottom, and that made it so much easier for me to pull this pot away. And I'll get a closer view so you can see the root ball here. But it actually looks really good. There was some curling at the bottom, as you can see, but it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it might be. So all I'm doing here is I'm wanting to loosen up the roots so that it stimulates them to want to grow outwards and not keep circling. So I just use my fingers to gently rough up the roots around the edges and the bottom, and then after that we'll get it planted into our hole. So again, having to lift this heavy tree into a hole, and then we're going to move it around and adjust for the angle that we want the tree so that it sits in nice and straight and the branches are going in the direction we want. When you're moving the tree around, you really want to look at the tree at all different kinds of angles to make sure that you like the look from all four sides, and determining that the straightness of the tree is there. Sometimes you look at it from one angle and it seems straight, and you walk around and you realize it's not quite as straight as you would like. So the big thing for me is always making sure that I'm constantly looking at it, making sure that I like it from all sides, and then making little tweaks here and there as I feel like I need until I get it just right, and then I fill it back in with soil. So now I've just got my mix of sand and perlite, and I'm popping it all the way around the tree, filling in to the base of the root ball, and then I will top it with the soil that I dug out of the hole. Now I have found with the use of sand, perlite, and peat moss as a standard mix for all of my trees and plants that I have had really successful growth, and that the roots always look really good because they're getting good aeration, they're getting good drainage. Everything about the mix seems to make our plants very happy. So if it's something you haven't tried, I'd recommend trying it once and just see what your results are. But as you can see here, we're just, again, filling in all the edges. And then I'm going to push the soil that I dug out of the hole on top of this.
You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me high and dry. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're channeling wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, 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 oh,
So once I've got all of the soil back on and around the roots, I'm going to use my foot to tamp down and to really place the soil firmly around the root ball. So I just hold on to the trunk of the tree and I gently press all around. I'll just head to the other side and continue doing it there. Once you've tamped down your soil, at this point you can either water your soil if it's quite dry, and or in my case, I'm going to go grab some mulch and I will heavily mulch around the tree and then I will water it in. Here I actually just found a few of the leaves that had fallen when I was taking the avocado tree out of its hole. Here's the first pail of mulch. Mulch is wonderful to use around all of your trees and plants as it helps protect them from extreme temperatures, and it also holds in moisture. Mulch is also a wonderful weed barrier, so I highly recommend using mulch. Here someone actually came to snuggle with me, so here is my next door neighbor's cat. So again, we're just going to keep adding mulch in and around the tree. And you can add as much as you want. I go quite thick so that it does add a really good blanket, especially now coming into winter. So now that my tree has been planted, I want to make sure that I attach the tree to the stake I placed in, just making sure that if there's any heavy winds, this will hold it in its place. And of course, for me, the final step is always watering it in. I stand here for quite a long time, making sure that it is well saturated. And I'll be doing this every day until we get rain, just to make sure that the root ball does not dry out. Here's a look at our avocado once it is planted. And of course, it is planted amongst other vegetables that will be coming out in the next couple weeks. And looking up at the avocado tree, even with the pruning job I did a month ago, it's still very tall. So it's something I will have to consider. I do have 8-foot tall bamboo poles that I'm going to hopefully TP around the tree. And then I'll be using burlap and some winter fleece to try to protect it even more. But I'm really happy with the way it has turned out. I love the fact that I have an avocado tree that hopefully, fingers are crossed, I can keep alive through our winters, because we are a zone 8B and I do not have outdoor lighting or electricals, so I have to come up with ways of maintaining heat around my tree without any electricity. So if you guys have any recommendations, leave them in the comments below. And of course, any questions, please comment. I will get back to you about them. But thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider giving it a thumbs up. It really helps our channel. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. I'd love to have you a part of our Desert Girl Coastal Life community. Until next time, no matter what you grow, I hope you grow what you love.